Hey guys, welcome to another lesson. Today's video will be talking about ecology, the basic concepts of ecology. So we're talking about some basic concepts in ecology. So first, we'll be starting by defining what ecology is. So ecology can be defined as the study of living organisms in relation to their environment. So what we mean by ecology is that we're just studying living things in relation to their environment. We study plants and animals in relation to their environment. Now, ecology can be divided into two main branches. One is horticology and the other is synecology. Now, horticology is the study of an individual organism or a single species of organisms and its environment. For example, the study of a snail and its environment. So horticology is just the study of one organism, one individual organism, one single organism and its environment. Synecology is the study of the interrelationship between groups of organisms or species of organisms living together in an area. So since horticology was talking about just the study of one organism in relation to its environment, synecology is now talking about the interrelationship between different organisms or different species of organisms living together in an area. For example, the study of lion and leopard interacting in a wild or in a forest or in a wild habitat. So that is synecology. Now let's talk about some concepts in ecology, some ecological concepts. One is habitat. Now, habitat can be defined as the environment in which an organism lives naturally. An example, fish naturally lives in water. Lions naturally live on land. And birds naturally live on trees. So that's what we mean by habitat. Simply the place where an organism lives naturally, where an organism is found naturally. Another concept is its environment. Now, environment is the overall factor, external and internal, living and non-living, which depend on an organism or which affect an organism. So the overall factors of external and internal, living and non-living conditions that affect an organism. That's what we mean by environment. Another one is ecosystem. Now, the ecosystem can be defined as the association between living components, plants and animals, that's one by living components, with the non-living factors of an environment. So ecosystem is just simply the interaction between the non-living components and the living components, the plants and animals interacting with the other factors in their environment. So another one is the community. So a community consists of the population of different kinds of organisms living together in an area or habitat. So when we say community, we're just talking about the population of the different kinds of organisms that are interacting together or living together in a particular habitat or in a particular area. Also, let's talk about biomes. Biomes are largely recognizable terrestrial ecosystems that consist of plants and animals naturally living together in that place. So a biome is just a large recognizable terrestrial ecosystem that now consists of vegetation, the plants and animals that are naturally living together. Another concept or basic concept of ecology is biosphere or ecosphere. Now this is the zone of the earth that is occupied by living organisms. The biosphere is the zone or the part of the earth that is occupied by living organisms. Now it's a layer which exists on the earth surface. We have different layers on the earth surface. So the biosphere is one of the layers which exists on the earth's surface. So it is the layer that supports life. You could say it's the layer of life. Also we have the lithosphere. Now the lithosphere is the solid portion of the earth. It is the outermost layer of the earth, or we say it is the earth crust. Now it is made up of rocks and mineral materials. So that is the lithosphere, the solid part of the earth. Now we have the hydrosphere. As the name implies, it is the liquid or aquatic part of the earth, then we could have water in various forms, as we know from science. We'd have water in solid form, that's ice. We have water in liquid form. Then we could also have water existing as gases. So examples of the hydrosphere include the lake, the pools, the springs, the oceans, the seas, the ponds, the oases, the rivers, and the streams. So those are the examples of the water bodies that make up the hydrosphere. We also have the atmosphere. Now this is the gaseous portion of the earth, and it's a layer of gases surrounding the earth. It is the gaseous part of the earth. So the lithosphere is the solid part of the earth, the hydrosphere is the liquid part of the earth, and the atmosphere is the gaseous part of the earth. Now another concept in ecology is what we call ecological niche or ecological niche. This is defined as the specific portion or specific part of an habitat that is occupied by a particular species or an organism. We could call it the functional position of an organism in a community. For example, a caterpillar and an aphid that live on the same plant but occupy different positions on the plants. They have different ecological niches on the plant. So that's what we mean by ecological niche. Another concept is population. Population can be defined as the total number of organisms of the same species living together in a given area at a particular time. So that is population. The total number of organisms of the same species living together in a particular habitat or particular area at a particular time. For example, the total number of tilapia fish in a pond constitutes the population of the tilapia in that habitat. Now let's talk about the components of an ecosystem. We have two major components, the biotic components or the biotic factors and the abiotic components or the abiotic factors. So let's define both of them. The biotic factors include the living part or the living organism of an environment. The living part or the living component of an environment or a community. Now the biotic population could include the food producer or the producer. These are the autotrophs, the ones that make the food. For example, the green plants. Also we have protophyta and chemosynthetic bacteria. So those are the producers, they make food. Then we have the food consumers, the heterotrophs. Example is the herbivore, the carnivores, the omnivores, the protozoa, and some bacteria. The herbivores are plants that feed only on plants. The carnivores feed on flesh only or other animals only, while the omnivores feed on both plants and animals. So these and some protozoa and some bacteria make up the food consumers in a community. Then we also have the decomposers. Now these are organisms that cause the decay of plants and animals. Examples, the saprophytes such as fungi and bacteria. So these are the decomposers, the organisms that cause decays. We also call them the saprophytes, and their mode of feeding is saprophytism. Now let's talk about the abiotic factor or the abiotic component. So since the biotic factor is the living factors or the living components in a community, the abiotic component is simply the non-living factors in the physical environment or in the physical community. Now, they are the things that an organism needs to stay alive. They include soil, water, temperature, humidity, light intensity, air, mineral salts, and so on and so forth. So the biotic factors control the activities of the biotic factors, just as the organism also influences the abiotic factors. So they work both hand in hand for an ecosystem to be achieved. Thanks for joining us today. See you next lesson.